this episode of GLF Podcast, I got to interview Gary Mitchell of OnTrackCoach. Gary loves what he does. For the last 20 years, he has helped numerous law firm owners build their businesses around their lives and not the other way around. If you have been in this business for any length of time, you know that most lawyers are overworked, overstressed, and underpaid. He helps law firm owners and law firm leaders build lives that they absolutely love and make those businesses work around their lives rather than the other way around. Tune into this episode, learn from Gary about his journey and how he helps law firm owners accomplish exactly that. Hi there. I have a small but really meaningful favor to ask you. I watch at the stats on our YouTube channel and Spotify channel, wherever most people listen and watch our podcast, and I see that over 80% of everybody who listens to it regularly is not a subscriber. I'm asking you to subscribe to this channel. And the reason for that is my mission and the mission of my team is to help as many small law firm owners to learn how to transform their law firms into better businesses, and so they in turn enjoy better lives. When you hit subscribe button, you tell these platforms that this is content worth listening, worth viewing, and they in turn will show it to many other small law firm owners and hopefully help me fulfill our mission of helping them create a better business and enjoy better lives. So would you please do me this favor? It would mean the world to me, and hit the subscribe button. And my promise to you is that I will continue to work hard at creating good content with practical ideas that help you and your teams grow better law firms. Thank you. Welcome to GLF Podcast. I have an amazing guest with me here today. Gary Mitchell, hailing from Vancouver, Canada, is a law firm coach who's been coaching now for nearly 20 years. I believe that 20-year anniversary is just coming up. And the name of Gary's coaching company is OnTrackCoach. Gary, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sasha. It's a pleasure to be here.
Here's what really caught my attention about your coaching group. You said that your mission is to help attorneys and law firm leaders build a law firm around their life, not the other way around. And I absolutely love it because we have worked with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of lawyers, and I have talked to thousands, I don't know how many, many thousands of attorneys, and many of them in the private conversation will tell you just how stressed out they are, how difficult operating a law firm and or being a lawyer at the same time can be. And so when I read this about you and your personal mission, I was like, I gotta get this gentleman on the show. So here we are.
Well, like I said, it's a pleasure to be with you here today, given what you do. And the next level is my fourth book coming out is actually titled that. It's Build Your Law Firm to Suit Your Lifestyle. You can have it all.
When is it coming out? It sounds like a must read for any small business owner, special lawyer.
I'm on a tear right now. I admit I'm using 3 AI assisted programs for the editing process, which is, I've had 3 big books published before and I did not use AI. Monday morning, I sent the manuscript to a former client who is going to be writing the foreword. And he sent me back the entire manuscript with suggested changes based on an AI-assisted editing program he's developed that's in beta. So I've got 3 AI-assisted programs running and competing against each other. I'm using Grammarly Pro and Copilot, Microsoft, and then his program. He doesn't have a name for it yet, but I'm one of his guinea pigs. And I think that's kind of ironic, the collaboration, that he's a former client that I helped grow his firm. He's writing my foreword, but now I'm going to be one of his guinea pigs to provide feedback for his editing software program. It's great. It's awesome.
I do not operate a law firm. Obviously, I operate a marketing company, but I would love to read the book when it comes out. So do ping me when it comes out. I'm sure there's a wealth of information, as you have been practicing helping attorneys for 20 years, if I'm not mistaken, right? And
next month.
And before we hit the record button, you said that next month you're taking out for dinner your very first client.
Yes.
And whoever referred you, that very first client, you're still friends 20 years after.
The 3 of us are going out. We've already confirmed it, and I can't wait. We've stayed in touch. We're friends and colleagues. I worked with the client. Well, actually, the one who referred me is my corporate lawyer. So she does my IP. and corporate kind of law work. And then the first client, and we've stayed in touch. I worked with him a number of times. I also worked with his wife, another attorney, a couple of times as well. So there's a long history here. And I just started to look at the calendar and went, I got to do something. I want to take them out because they're both thriving with their own firms. The one that's my client was in-house at the time, and she's gone on to build a very successful firm on her own, expanding. And the first client was working at a large corporate firm here in Vancouver, and he's gone out on his own, building a very successful firm. So there's a lot to celebrate. I'm very grateful.
That's amazing. So thinking back 20 years, back to March of 2025, we're recording this at the tail end of February of 2025. So next month in March, it will be 20 years. Did you observe any meaningful changes in the challenges that law firm owners experience now versus what they did 20 years ago?
Ooh, that's an open, wide question.
Sure.
Certainly, legal marketing has evolved a great deal, right? Back in the day, legal marketing consisted of, picking the colors for the invitations for the client event. Now there's like dedicated CMOs and entire departments. And so legal marketing has definitely evolved. Where I see the areas that have not evolved enough are the management, HR, development, practice management, law firm models, billing. They're still in the dark ages in many respects. Now, having said that, there are a lot more innovative models out there today than there were 20 years ago, for sure, right? But those tend to come from the smaller firms, the more entrepreneurial minded lawyer, who, for the most part, was frustrated with the old model, and then just went out on their own and created the firm the way they wanted to. And it's been building over the last 20 years, inspiring me to see what's possible and get the message out to those who are suffering, who are burnt out, the carnage of the legal industry, as I call it, that there is a different way. There's another way. And that starts with shifting your mindset from just practicing law to building the business of law. And you can build the firm around your goals, your values, and your lifestyle and what's important to you.
But I find that most practitioners, most specialists, they start off being an attorney, then they start their own law firm, and now they have more work than ever. And the grind gets really hard. And this is why I think a lot of burnout. And statistically, I read this somewhere, the burnout rate in this industry is 55%. And I mentioned before we hit the record button that half of our copywriting team are former attorneys.
Yeah.
It is really, really easy to find a former attorney looking for a job.
Absolutely. I mean, I've seen this too. The two publishers I worked with previously for the first 3 books, all of my interaction with the people, they were former lawyers. I see it all the time. And my experience is this: the vast majority of the most entrepreneurial, lawyer-minded people leave the industry completely. They leave law completely. And I find that to be a shame, given how much time and money they've invested in their education and their learning and their experience to completely leave the industry. And I know that, so, I'm not here, Sasha, I'm not going to save the world. I've got this little piece. But my mission is really to empower as many lawyers and law firm owners to create an amazing firm, an amazing team that allows them to have a great life. You mentioned the incredible burden on law firm owners. Yes, and that is one of the big things I do when I'm working one-on-one with a law firm owner is help them balance. They have 2 hats, 2 full-time jobs. One, their own practice, their own clients, right? And leading the firm. I was in a consultation 2 weeks ago with an already successful firm here in Vancouver. And like right now, he's like every other small firm owner that's reached out, he's treading water. And he said to me, he's a litigator and he loves litigating. He said to me, when he's litigating, He has no time or mental space for the management and leadership and strategy. And when he's doing the admin, leadership, management, and strategy, he has no time for litigation.
Yep.
And I said, exactly. And I go into that detail in my book in the first chapter about the lawyer mind and how it works. Because all the skill sets that make a great lawyer, analytical, critical thinking, skeptical, why we hire them, right? They are the exact opposite of the skills required to be successful in business. So I'm always helping them to understand they have two hats. When they're doing the management and leadership, HR, they have their business or entrepreneur hat on. And when they're practicing law for their clients, they have their lawyer hat on.
Yep.
And they have to make that mind shift. And I help them do that. It's in the book. I'm really excited about the content of this. It's been evolving over 20 years.
Yeah, but clearly each one of those is a full-time job.
You're exactly right. Except one of the downfalls of lawyers is their lack of trust in letting go and delegating. And so this is one of the first things I could do. I had the privilege of meeting this very, very successful senior tax lawyer from Long Island, New York last year. She had built a 7-figure law firm working 2 days a week in the office because she prioritized raising her 2 daughters. So this really hit me over the head. This struck a chord. I use her case study in the book. You can. It was her. I give full credit. It was her in the interview who said, she said, you can have it all. You just can't do it all on your own.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, I've been saying that for 20 years. You need to build a team around you so that ideally, when I've had clients come to me and they say, Gary, oh my God, I'm finally doing only the work I love. That's because we're focused 100% on if they still want to practice law at a high level, and some do and some don't. Some move more to the leadership and the running of the firm, and they really put the practice of law in the back burner. But there's others like this one I met 2 weeks ago. He loves litigating. And I said, well, don't ever stop doing that, right? That's your passion. But we have to build a team around you so not only you can run your practice more effectively, you're not doing it all, you're not doing all the admin tasks with your practice, but also on the management side, you're too bogged down. You cannot, no one can possibly have 2 full-time jobs and be effective at both of them. They can't. So there's solutions for all these, right, Sasha? I'm no, pie in the sky dreamer. These approaches are practical. They're simple. They need to be acted upon.
Yeah.
And in many cases, fear holds them back. Fear of letting go, fear of delegating. I show them that if you can become better as a leader and delegate more effectively, providing more support, you will eventually lose that fear of letting go because you're going to have people doing, well, first step is you got to get the right people.
Yep.
Then as a leader, you give them everything they need to succeed. And over time, you're going to see that you can and should delegate because the ones who have, they're the ones who are growing, right? If they try to do it all on their own, I won't say they're going to fail. They're too determined. They're smart. I won't say they're going to fail, but they're definitely going to burn out.
There's a ceiling. There's a ceiling for sure. I find it very interesting that for most people, if you decide what it is that you actually love doing, so like your client who loves litigation, but also owns a law firm, if he decides that he loves litigation and this is what he is going to do, that's fine. Get a partner who is business focused.
Exactly.
Who knows how to manage.
Yeah.
Get that partner, give that person some equity in the business. I assume that it's already somewhat built up of a law firm. Give them some equity, give them some salary, give them some performance pay, and have them go at growth while you focus on litigation. But lawyers and law firm owners comes in all creed, right? There are those who love being the specialist practicing law.
Yes.
There are those who love stepping up and go to the next level and becoming CEO of their law firm.
Yep.
And then majority try to do it all.
Yes.
And this is where that ceiling, it hits them really hard. And this is where the burnout comes because, I mean, look, if you've been specializing in practicing law, how would you become a good business executive through trials and tribulations?
It's tough.
But
So
if
you
you're
brought
still
up one.
practicing law, it just doesn't work. You have to focus on
You
one
brought
thing or
up one
another.
option, that is bringing on a partner
Yeah.
with complementary skills.
Yep.
So let me take you back through my process. Years ago, the old school of train of thought was when you're doing a SWOT analysis, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, pick up your socks or pull up your shorts and work on your weaknesses. Well, I'm old enough that I knew that old school, and at that time it made sense. But then came along one of my most revered business gurus, Steve Jobs, and he turned that whole concept upside down. He professed, you can see it everywhere in his writings, focus all your time, energy, and resources on your strengths, master them, and then systematically build a team around you taking care of everything else, which would include the weaknesses. What happens when you do that is that you are focused purely on what you love, which is always what you're going to do best, and vice versa. What you do best is what you always love. And then you're going to have a team of people, higher functioning people in the right roles, doing those tasks at a higher success rate than you were doing, freeing you up to focus. Now, having said that, I have clients that really, really want to stay focused on the practice, like lawyering. Okay. So you brought up the one option of bringing on a partner. The other option is building a management team. Right. On the flip side of that, I have clients that are tending to be a little more entrepreneurial. They can see themselves like being the leader, the face of the firm, doing all the business development, the mentoring of the juniors, bringing the staff up, and delegate. They're not going to completely let go of the legal work, right? And I don't think they should. But there's no one. My point is there's no one size fits all. And my whole point in writing this book is it's about you, your goals, your values, your vision, what's important to you. Let's build it around that. It's possible. But see, lawyers are not programmed that way, right? From law school into the vast majority of lawyers article at a larger firm, just because the numbers, it's bred into them. It's programmed into them. This is the way law works. So it's no wonder that they have issues getting out of that box, right? But it's possible. I see it every day in my coaching work. I see it's possible if they're given the right direction. I mean, the thing is, lawyers are smart. Let's face it. They love to learn. If they're open, they absorb information very quickly. Then it's about the support through the action of that information, right? Implementation is key.
Yeah. So while I agree that lawyers are very smart academically and they're just savvy people, I find that the business acumen is not very common in the industry.
No,
So
it's not.
this is just completely different kind of smart, completely different type of knowledge. And if
Well,
you're practicing law full time, the probability that you're going to develop significant business acumen to take your business to the next level is fairly low, or it will take you tremendous amount of not just time, years and years and years. That's why I'm a
yeah,
big proponent that if you want to practice law and you own a law firm, practice law and let somebody run the business. Just
yes,
like if you have a 401k or any other type of, if you buy stock, any
yeah,
type of stock, you just trusted the management team of that company
yeah,
to manage your money for you. You invested
that's right.
$500 into one share. You're
Well, you
like,
can't do
okay,
everything.
you will not manage this business. You just
No,
trusted somebody else manage that business.
yeah,
It's the same thing with your business. You're either going to be the CEO of your law firm or you will be a practicing attorney. Or if you try to do everything at once, business will not grow as fast and you will have a much harder time getting to wherever you want to be. So I
yeah.
think
And
that clarity is very important.
there's also some gray area there too, because
Sure.
as I've written for a long time now, chapter one is about a deeper understanding of the lawyer mind. And lawyers, for the most part, have had everything focused on left brain function. So I talked about it, I mentioned it, analytical, critical
Sure.
thinking,
Sure.
all of that. And it's really hard to park that and then move over to the business skills, which are right brain focused, innovation, creative, empathy, communication. All it's like completely opposite.
Yeah.
Um, I'm of the right brain
Mm.
focus. That's my experience and skill. So what I do is those who have the potential, and they know it or they don't, right? So there's those lawyers that really want to just be the lawyer. You're right. They need to hire a management team to run the law firm. Let it go. But there are lawyers out there. They're a rare breed, but they are out there, and some of them are my clients. They do have that entrepreneurial bent. They have that desire to learn and grow in the right brain functions, right? And they have leadership potential and capabilities. And they're really, really, that's when I bring up the smart part. If they have the attitude, right, which is chapter 2, attitude and mindset, if they have the attitude and mindset that they want to grow in that area, they can definitely learn. So again, it's not one size fits all. I'm not going to say, this is the model for everyone. No, it's we build the model around you, right?
100%. But, and again, I'm beating the dead horse here, but I think it's really important. There will be a natural ceiling
Oh
for
yeah,
all those law firm owners who do not specialize in one thing or another.
yeah,
That ceiling could be $3, $4, $5 million in annual revenue US. I'm not sure what it is in Canada, but
yeah.
you are going to run out of steam at some point.
That's usually when they contact me,
Ah, got it.
when they're exactly at that level. So they've gone through startup. They've gone through the startup phase.
Yeah.
They've achieved some level of success on their own. They've got a number of attorneys working for them, paralegals, support staff. They built some reputation, but they're at 130% capacity,
Got it.
right?
Yeah.
And so finally, they reach the pain point where they've come to the conclusion that if they want to take it next level, they need help.
Yeah.
That's exactly when they pick up the phone or send me an email and we get started. That's exactly the point. Sometimes it's 3 years, sometimes it's 8 years in. It'll depend, right? I had a client come back to me 2 weeks ago. I worked with him when he was an associate at a national firm, and he's been out on his own for 3.5 years. I reached out to him in his first year, congratulated him for going on his own, and said, maybe you want to consider. I'd love to work with you again and help you take your firm. But no, he had to get some scratches, bruises, and scars. And in my catching up with him, he recognized that he's in a prolonged startup phase because he's still doing everything himself. Now we could have an entire podcast on that issue
Yeah.
alone. Why lawyers do everything themselves?
Not just lawyers. Most small business owners do.
Yeah, and it's like it's the scarcity mindset instead of abundance. It's well, first of all, they've never been taught how to lead, how to delegate, how to provide feedback, how to support, how to mentor. Some lawyers are great at it. They have natural abilities. Like, the rainmakers, they have natural abilities,
Sure.
but they are the rarest of the rare.
Yep.
And so my focus, and it only works if they're willing. And like this is a great example of the lawyer had to try and do it on their own. It's lone wolf syndrome, I call it. It's in the book. And I get it. And these by no means, Sasha, are criticisms. They're just merely observations of working with them for 20 years, right? And my job is to unleash their full potential. They have it, right? Not everyone. I mean, if everyone was a business owner, how would things get done, right? So I'm not professing that any lawyer can go on and start their own law firm and be successful. I'm not saying that at all. But if they're willing, if they desire to grow something of their own, and they're open to getting help and feedback, then the sky's the limit.
100%. I also find it that, and I think in the US at least, 93% of all businesses never cross the threshold of $1 million in annual revenue.
Yeah.
And when you're operating a business that small, the truth of the matter is you're probably going to be the specialist who provides the service that the business markets and sells.
Right.
And there's a great deal of comfort in being the service provider because this is what you know.
Yes.
You start a law firm because you were a good lawyer working somewhere else. And now you started a law firm and you continue to be a good lawyer, except now that you have your own business. And now you're kind of responsible for marketing, kind of responsible for sales, kind of responsible for HR, and kind of responsible for leadership, all the while delivering the service.
Right.
Which is what you're good at, and everything else, typically you're not, because these are not your core areas of expertise. So it makes it very difficult. I've had now, this marketing company is my fourth business, and it's the first business that I did not start from scratch. I actually bought a 10-year-old marketing company. In the initial three businesses that I started, I was the service provider.
Right.
And I clung to it because comfortable.
Yeah.
I knew how to do the thing, and
Yeah.
majority of the time was spent on doing the thing. With my
And
first
that's
business,
human.
and
That's
it's very
human.
human. It's
Yep.
human. The very first business that I had, I think I sold it. I sold my 50% to my former business partner when we had something like 84 employees. We're doing well into eight figures, and still 10-20% of my time I was spending on being a service provider.
Yeah.
Why? Who the F knows? I was
Yeah.
comfortable doing that. It was
Yeah.
bringing in a little additional income. It didn't hurt. So I was wasting time. If I would have just purely focused on leadership, the business probably would have grown faster. Here, I
Yeah.
made no such mistake. I never provided a marketing service. I do not know how to do SEO. I know how SEO works. I do not know how to do SEO.
Yeah.
I know how PPC works. I do not
Right.
know how to do PPC. I
Exactly.
know
I mean,
how website
yeah.
design and development work. That is not true. I don't know how web development works. I'm not a service provider. I've never
Yeah.
spent an hour being a service provider here. Why? Because that would be an unbelievable waste of time and a valuable resource because I know how to do so many other things. But I think
Yep.
for most attorneys and most other small business owners, it's clinging the thing that you know how to do really well and the difficulty of transitioning into something else. That's why I wish there were MBA or MBA-like programs that were specifically for attorneys that would help them go and propel forward. There is a joint program in some universities, some law schools, which is JD MBA.
Yes.
Super rare, super rare. And I think I might have met in all the years that I've been working with attorneys, maybe 3 lawyers who had both designations to their name.
Well, that's a huge area for growth is the education,
Yeah.
legal education. Absolutely. There's little snippets of it in the UK, in US, even in Canada,
Mm.
where it's opening up, it's evolving, but there's a lot of room for improvement.
Yep.
Absolutely. I mean, law school in no way, shape, or form prepares any lawyer for the business side of law.
Nor should it. It teaches you how to be a lawyer, just like medical school teaches you how to be a doctor.
Right.
So it truly, I hate it when people say that, like, what they didn't teach you at law school. Well, yeah, this is not a B school. This is law school. You went
Yeah.
there to learn how to be a lawyer, not a business owner. You just decided to become a business owner. And now it's up to you to
Well,
become an effective
Sasha,
business
as long
leader.
as they don't provide business training in law schools, I have a career.
100%. 100%. And it's a great thing. Now, if an attorney who is watching this, reading this, listening to this podcast wanted to reach out to you, what are the right 3 questions that they should ask you out of the gate?
That's a good question. Um, well, one of the first questions that's the most commonly asked question is how much time should I be devoting to business development and marketing and leadership? Lawyers always want a definitive number or fact. And my answer to that is that completely, it's related to what your goals are, where you are now, how much time you have, the ebb and flow of your practice, who's on your team, who's doing what. Like to just say you should spend 5 hours a day, 5 hours a week, 5 hours a month. Again, no one size fits all, and there is no cookie cutter solution. I mean, that's part of my coaching background, right? I don't go into a session with a script. We've got an agenda, but it's not like, okay, this is the curriculum, this is next. It's like, what's going on? We have a agenda from the previous call. So that's the one question most frequently asked: how much time should I spend? 2, actually, a number of questions. I'll ask, what do you think about bringing on a partner? What do you think about hiring contract? What can I expect to gain from working with you? That's often,
That's a great question. What other questions do you wish they asked you? Not the questions that they typically ask you, but what do you wish that they would ask you?
I wish they asked me more about the results I've created for clients, right? I'm the one who's saying, go call them, like talk to them. Don't listen to me. Right? I know you're skeptical. It's in your nature. Talk to my clients. Like, what have you done? What did you do for that client? What did you do for that client? Right? How can you help me do that?
Yep.
Based on what you know in this consultation, you know my situation. So how can you help me get from where I am to where you took that client? That would be a good question.
That's a great question. And you mentioned that a lot of them come to you once they plateau at the 3, 4 million, $5 million in revenue.
Yeah,
And they want to
it's
go to the
typically
next level.
some come early, some come around the 1 million, but lately it's usually around the 3 million and up, right? Because they've been in it long enough to know they've got a good grasp, which is also great, Sasha. Because I'm not dealing with a newbie. This is a business owner that has experienced enough pain and stress to know where the challenges lie. So it's like when I go in, it's not we need to figure out how I can help. They know what I need to do. They know how I can help them. So that's why I say around that range, they've had enough experience. They've been through a few market cycles. They've been through staff, lawyers, and support staff, right? So they've had the HR pains, let's say, frustration. So they're really ready. They're ready to take it next level, and they know they need help.
Got it. So they've been there and done that, experienced some pains and some triumphs, and now they're ready to take it up to the next level.
Yep.
And most of them come to you because perhaps they don't know how to do it.
You know, my first client, this is ironic. My first client was a partner, junior partner at a large litigation firm. And after he had hired me, he told me, he said, Gary, you know, I want to tell you why I hired you. There were two other people from the legal marketing background. And he said, I found you to be just more down to earth, practical, and I want what you got. I'm already a good lawyer. I know how to be a good lawyer. I want your entrepreneurial drive and passion. And I'm like, how fortunate can you be? Your very first client basically gives you your ideal client profile, right? Because I'm not a lawyer, and not to make it clear, I've never practiced law. I started my first business at 25, and I've been very involved in politics, political strategy, communications, and marketing. So everything I've done in my career previous to coaching lawyers has been about people, understanding them. And some people have it very frustrating, but I like it. It's challenging. I love challenge. I love to be challenged. So I guess I share that personality trait with lawyers. I love to be challenged, and I love to see the growth in other people, right?
Lawyers who are listening to this podcast episode, who are watching this podcast episode and want to connect with you and ask you those questions, how do they connect with you?
They can go to my website, my email is Gary, 1R, at coach.com, OnTrackCoach.com. Or they can go to my website, OnTrackCoach.com, book a consultation. But I'll just leave it with this. What's possible? Anything you set your mind to, if you get the right support.
Love it. We'll put that on quotes. Amazing insights. Gary Mitchell, thank you so much.
My pleasure, Sasha. Nice to be here.